Several years ago, I was on a phone call that changed the way I see government, how it's working, and how it could be working. At the time, I was working at California Air Resources Board, and I was talking with one of our regional partners and telling them that, hey, we have reviewed all of your program materials and documents and plans and the result of your modeling analysis. But I'm afraid you're not really meeting your targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And his response was very straightforward, very on-said, Nader, you know that we can just move that knob in our modeling tool and show you the results that you want to see? The program was SB 375 program. California Air Resources Board is running the program in coordination with the state of California, and it's asking MPOs or metropolitan planning organizations in California to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by coordinating land use and transportation strategies. They should create all of these fancy plans and then run modeling tools to show that they are meeting the greenhouse gas reduction targets designed by CARB and the state of California. The targets are different from 6% to 19%, very clear targets for each of these MPOs. And even CARB's own analysis shows that after all these years of this program, SB 375 program, still running, still the transportation sector is the main polluting sector in California. And the program has not been really working. We had only two options. We could either change the system or stop pretending. But we picked a third option, which is keep pretending. The program has been running for the past 15 years or so without really major changes, although it's not been really successful and impactful. So the program has very clear targets, very clear expectations, which is great, thumbs up, but it has very limited enforcement. It has very limited land use control. In fact, the state of California and metropolitan planning organizations do not have control over land use and the way local jurisdictions think about land use planning in California at the local level. And of course, that means that all of these plans, even if the plans show that they are meeting the targets, they don't mean anything because we are not sure if those plans are going to get implemented on the ground or not. SB 375 program is also not that flexible. It's being run by a regulatory agency, that's CARB, which means that we, on the CARB side, we really did not have much flexibility and interaction to talk with local jurisdictions to figure out what's working, what's not working, and how we can change things on the ground. What I learned from this experience is that clarity alone does not get to impact. We must accept trade-offs and acknowledge failure. Let's look at another example. After this experience, I moved to another agency in California to start a new team, a new data team, to build the first data warehouse on homelessness in California, which unfortunately is the largest one in the country. I had about 6 months to hire contractors, hire staff, run a procurement process, which on its own take about a year often, hire oversight staff to oversee my own team and my own progress, work with California Department of Technology, manage legal, privacy, security, architecture system, survive this very intense and time-consuming process called PAL process, or project approval process. And even after that, respond to 724 system requirements just to build the system itself. This process was so complicated not only on my end, but also the contractor's end. In fact, one of our requirements was asking the contractors to make sure that the website they are developing is going to be up and running 24/7. We were saying that if the website is going to be down even for 1 hour, you guys are going to be liable for $200,000 per hour. On week one, I realized I have to report to so many different folks and work with so many different entities. The picture you see here and that face, that's actually not representing me at all. I was very confused and I was scared of what's really ahead of me. And in fact, after a while, it didn't get better. Oversight after oversight and tons of different folks being involved, briefing after briefing to get ready for this launch. And at the time that my team and myself, hired the contractor just to start building the actual product and the data system, we were so tired that I felt that I'm really ready for retirement. And I felt maybe it's time. I didn't get retired. And in fact, we launched HDIS, or Homeless Data Integration System, in about 7 months. It was more than 6 months, but it was still extremely fast. Doing a project like this at this state of California often takes about 3 years. Thinking about that and bringing back to 7 months, it's a huge success. But we were successful because of various reasons. It was pandemic, the state government was more lean and more open to different ways of doing things and going faster. I think I had the opportunity of being able to hire some IT staff who were probably dealing with some midlife crisis and thinking through pandemic life, oh, maybe I should try something new in government and do good in government. And also we use this process called Scrub, which is all about working in very short cycles, often 2 weeks, focusing and prioritizing tasks. In every short cycle, we had to have particular deliverables, and we had to quickly learn and adapt. All of this are the things that you often do not see happening in policy world. HDIS had very clear requirements, very firm timeline, but it had too much oversight. It had too many requirements, and everything was a must-have. We even could not think about a simple trade-off of allowing the system to be down for just 1 hour for a system that me as a user would probably use it once a year or maybe twice a year. What I learned from this process is that when our systems are designed to avoid risk, they struggle to create impact. My team and I were not able to do this project successfully if we were not working 12 to 16 hours per day. Fast forward, I was appointed by Governor Newsom in California to serve as the senior advisor on a program which was all about community and economic development. We were talking about the program guidelines and talking about the details of what the program is trying to do, what are the goals of the programs, and etc. And in the Q&A, when we were waiting for folks to ask questions, one of the main and first questions was like, Nader, what is the state exactly trying to do with this program? The program was called SERF, or Community and Economic Resilience Fund. It was focused on bottom-up regional economic development, trying to empower each of the 13 regions across California to decide for themselves, decide about the future of their economy, and come up with plans and strategies that can support their economic development. And in fact, the project had so many different goals that I thought maybe it would be easier to launch another mission to the moon rather than responding to all of these different goals. We were trying to respond to our economic development goals, we had climate resilience goals, community development, we had job creation, we had sustainable development, and of course, we wanted to do all of this equitable. At some point, I thought even maybe regional happiness might be on the table. In addition to having so many goals, we had various agencies with unclear roles. We had unclear outcomes, and we were trying to please everyone. All of this resulted in a spotty communication, and a thin trust. I often feel our policy world and process is like a Netflix series. It's long but dramatic, and no one really remembers what happened in season 1. But we shifted the approach. We didn't stay in that limbo. We changed SURF to California Jobs First. We clarified our goal and mentioned that this program is very much focused on job creation. We rebuilt the trust. We shifted our comms, we clarified our roles, we clarified who is doing what, and we decided to make trade-offs. Instead of saying that equity is about the number of underserved population in each region, we said, in this program, equity is about regions' rise. It's about supporting those regions that have been left behind throughout the years and helping them grow. I'm not saying that if this is a good policy or not a good policy. What I'm saying is that making trade-offs is part of policy making. We cannot please everyone. If you're trying to please everyone, we're not pleasing anyone. In the past 20 years, I have worked on various policy, IT, and data-related programs and projects. I've been doing over 40 different detailed interviews in the past year, focusing on the secret sauce behind program impact. And I came to these 3 main points. Every single program is very clear and has a very clear focus. The goals are very clear. We're not looking at jobs, equity, climate resilience, housing production, and all of these. We're looking at one of them as the key, clear focus of the program. Number 2, every successful program that gets to the community impact it wants to get to, it accepts trade-offs. Again, if you want to please everyone, we're not going to please anyone. Every successful program focuses on trust and understanding of the role of people and power imbalances. And trust is not something that you are going to build with just one program. It's not about the fact that, oh, we're running this program, let's run that public engagement process. Trust should be happening continuously. You should start building trust way before you start the program. We need all these 3 different major components, clarity, trade-offs, and trust, working together. And if one of them is missing, your program is not going to the outcomes that it wants to get to. But I also want to say California is slowly moving in the right direction. That SB 375 program that I mentioned, there are conversations about rethinking that program. And there are conversations about adding other components to the program to make it more impactful. SURF, we changed it to California Jobs First, and we clarified what this whole program means. I talked about that very complicated PAL process. California Department of Technology is now focused on a different process instead of PAL process. It's called Project Delivery Lifecycle Process, or PDL. Just to focus on outcomes instead of approvals. There are other things happening too. In California, we just passed S79, which is all about housing development and developing more housing near transit. The bill has issues. I'm not saying that the bill is going to transform housing production in California. The bill actually has some issues that we need to fix to get to the outcomes we want to get to. But it's a great start. We now have Office of Data and Innovation, or ODI, which has been dramatically improving the way how different departments and agencies across the state can work in a more nimble and more impactful way. We already have what we need to design programs that work, as long as we are focused on clarity, trade-offs, and trust building. And by the way, after that HDIS project I mentioned, I didn't get retired, but I was so tired. My wife my 1.5-year-old son and myself, we had a very nice trip to Costa Rica, and I came back to work. Thanks so much.